Hello and welcome to another edition of All About Berea. I'm Chad Hembry.
And I'm Beth Myers.
We have a lot of things going on this particular show, but one thing very exciting is you've got another member of the youth of Berea.
You are right. I have recruited Emma Crump to come in, who is a viola player. And she's going to be talking with us, and if we can convince her to, she's going to also be playing playing something for us. Well, but she's a senior.
That's great, and I'm really looking forward to that. We are kind of light on people in the studio for usual, though.
Yeah, we're doing a little dual act, Chad, so I think we've got to be a little more assertively teasing with each other to make up for the lack of the peanut gallery.
Well, anyway.
But yeah, Jonathan is on a youth group trip with Quaker teens, so. And
we wish him a lot of luck in that.
Oh, yeah.
And make it back okay.
Yeah, I heard from him today. So far, so good.
Now, he was telling us about one of his trips one time where they got stuck at was it a truck stop or something, or a bus broke down, or
yeah, and then there's another one where they actually had one of the vans was in an accident, so they've had some adventures. Yeah, absolutely, but this one's going pretty smooth.
All right, well, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into 4 things you should know with our news editor, Miss Beth Myers.
Thanks, Chad. This is 4 things you should know. First of all, a book signing is scheduled for September 4th from 5 to 8 at the Berea Center for the Arts, the book by Randy Westbrook, 50 Years of Exile. We actually had Mr. Westbrook in an earlier radio show to talk about his book, so this is going to be his official Berea signing. The book chronicles the journey, challenges, and successes of the band Exile. The Central Kentucky band hit the top of the pop charts in 1978 with the hit Kiss You All Over, and turned to country music later, where they had 10 consecutive #1 hit songs in a row. J.P. Pennington from Berea, one of the original members of the band, who was instrumental as a bass player and a songwriter, will be present for the signing, as well as several other members. The band actually reunited in 2008, and Pennington was one of the main motivators behind that. They were playing a benefit concert after one of their former employees was in an accident and needed help with the health insurance. So as they played together and they got a huge crowd, they're like, well, let's start this again. The Berea City Council discussed the property tax on Tuesday. The city is only allowed to increase their revenue by 4% every year, and because of certain home assessments rising dramatically, the city would actually have to drop their property tax rate in order to avoid increasing revenue above 4%. The current rate is 0.099, which means the compensating rate, or the rate that would bring in the same amount of revenue as last year, would have to be taken down to 0.094. If they went ahead and did their allowable 4% increase in revenue, it would take the rate to 0.097. Both City Administrator Randy Stone and Finance Director Susan Meeks asked the council to consider keeping the rate at its present, which is 0.099. They pointed out that only people who had their property assessment increase would feel an increase in their tax, and also decreasing the rate would put the city behind in the future because of they're always going to be facing this 4% cap. Councilmember Billy Wagers stated that they should go ahead and increase the rate to 1.0, which it had been years before. If the City Council does end up setting the rate above 0.097, there will have to be a public hearing, since it's going to raise the revenue above the 4%. It would then be subject to a voter referendum. The City of Berea voted to condemn the Hawley property on 118 North Broadway on Tuesday. This is the property that's beside the Kentucky Guild building, what many might call an eyesore in that area in Old Town. The vote was split between Ronnie Terrell, Billy Wagers, Diane Kirby, and Chester Powell voting yes, and Chad Hembry, Virgil Burnside, and Jerry Little voting no. Vi Farmer abstained herself from the discussion and vote, since her son's interested in purchasing and developing the property. There were those who were interested in having the Farmer family purchase the property. The city states they had no problem from that. They would just hope that condemning the property might push the family into action. And there are a couple of activities happening with bids. The Allen Company received the bid for work on the Mady Road and Highway 595 connector for the shared use path, I believe, right, Chad?
Yes.
And they turned in the low bid of $92,420. That's going to actually be paid out of tourism money. The kitchen renovation for the Russell Acton Folk Center was bid out for $49,202, so that should be in time for the Spoonbread Festival. And the Madison County clerk is going to redo the office in Berea. That's actually going to be let out for bid soon. That space will be upgraded and renovated. And that is 4 things you should know.
I want my cheat sheet out here, or your cheat sheet.
That's because Chad doesn't pay attention when I give my little report. He was off snoozing. I caught him.
I'll go to repeat something, and the number won't come to mind. Let's start at the top here, the book signing. Of course, we support Randy Westbrook 100%. And if you didn't listen to the show that he was on, please go back and check it out. We keep all of our shows archived there on YouTube, or you can go to Berea Online and find them all that way as well. Just
one thing I should mention,
All About Berea at the top of the page.
Like I said, it is from 5 to 8 on September 4th, and I should mention that Main Street Cafe is going to be catering the event. And I'm gonna blank out on the musical group that he's played with, but the trio, and I'm sorry I cannot remember
the Westbrook
Thank
trio.
you. The Westbrook trio is going to be doing some background music at the event as well.
Well, I'm very excited that his book is doing as well as it is, and it's quite a good read.
Yeah, I've been reading through it, and I had an interview with J.P. Pennington for the article that I did in the newspaper, and this is actually going to be his kind of first big time in Berea since he's left. He's kind of passed through it, drove around it, but this is definitely somewhat of a homecoming for him. He went to Berea High School and remembers when he was 11 being in a band. Let's see, it was Billy Wagers and 2 of his cousins, and they didn't have a bass player, so he had to play the low notes and fake it with them.
That's great.
And Leroy Pullins, that's right, Leroy Pullins was one of them, and but he went by Elroy Pullins in the name of the band because he thought it sounded more sophisticated. So that was kind of a funny little Berea story.
Are you Leroy or Elroy?
Elroy.
He was a Jetson. All right. Moving on down here to the council on the property tax. Let's put that in real numbers.
Sure.
Going from a 0.09 to a 0.1 means that you'll pay $1 more on $100,000 worth of property.
That's correct. Yeah, it can be very well, actually the whole issue of numbers can be confusing because you have this 4% thing that doesn't count with the rate. It counts for projected revenue, which affects the rate. But you're right, you look at the rate and you're not quite sure what that means, but you're talking about $1 for every 100,000.
So, considering that aspect of it, and it's already at 0.99
or 0.099.
I went into the meeting with the mindset of, well, just keep it the legal allowable and let it drop to the 0.097. Don't do the hearing, but it turns out you have to do it every year anyway. And people in Berea kind of like the services they have. So
right,
kind of staying where we are. I don't want to see any real increases, but I don't see that simplifying things. $1 on 100,000 is really an increase. Mm-hmm. Well, it's an increase, but it's not a major change in one's lifestyle.
And one thing that's really tough to face. I mean, not face, but as we're talking about this, things get more expensive. And I know for some people it's like, well, look at the payroll. I think Virgil talked about stabilizing that at the raise, but that's not the only thing that increases in money. I mean, unfortunately, we're at a point though where expenses seem to keep increasing and revenue doesn't, a lot of us. But the fact is things are going to get more expensive. There's a certain reason that you need to bring in a little bit more money.
At 1.01.
0.1 would be...
No, 0.1. We're still less than 50% within less than 50% of where the average is for the state.
That's right, which I believe is 0.2, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, it's 0.2
something.
0.20 or Anyway, if you figure it out exactly, we'd still be less than 50% of the average in the state.
Well, yeah, and I'm very aware that there are people who live in Berea who can afford a house who couldn't afford one anywhere else, and that's partly why you get a lot of people who are retired coming down here too.
Well,
the money just
city tax really
stretches.
isn't the thing. You still have that huge property tax from the county that includes the school tax on it. So when you get that bill, immediately, it comes in your mind, oh, there's a tax, government. But remember, Berea doesn't get any of that.
That's right. That's a good point. That's a good point. That is not Berea money.
All right, moving on. City of Berea condemning the property. I did vote against that. And the reason I voted against it is because there's a pending negotiation on it. And I just am not a big fan of government getting involved in business when business is occurring, in town. Now, I do know that there are other people there that feel like I do, but they thought by condemning the property it actually helped move it along, and we'll just let that go, because I think what is it, taking two different roads to the same location, right?
Right. And I think there were so many things that couldn't be said because of issues with property, and so it kind of felt a very strange vote, like no one was really getting the whole picture, and so I saw that as a really kind of difficult vote for the council. Personally, though, I have to say that was one of the first things I noticed in Berea was that building. I hated that building. I mean, I'd walk down Old Town and I'd be like, oh, somebody's got to do something about that building.
Well, that's an eyesore.
I mean, it really does. It looks terrible. So I'll be glad, however it happens, I'll be glad to see that get improved. But evidently, when things get inherited and things are family, it can get all really difficult.
Well, that one has several heirs to it.
Yeah,
correct?
From what I understand. I'm not sure if it goes beyond the three daughters or not, but yeah.
Okay, moving on. The last one on here with the Allen Company.
Yeah, I was just putting different bids out for improvements. Yeah,
and they were the low bid by far.
Oh yeah, there was nothing surprising or
really
controversial about that. They are going to come in a little bit under bid, I believe. I know they budgeted over $100,000 for that project, so that's nice. They're going to come in a little bit under that.
That is good. All right, and I guess that will wrap up our 4 things. Thank you very much, Beth. That was a good list.
Well, thank you, Chad.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, you're going to have some guests in here. And
that's right.
And one of them is a musician, so we'll actually hear a little music again. So you're listening to All About Berea. We'll be right back after this break. Hello and welcome back. You're listening to All About Berea. Now, Beth, you've got some guests in here with you today.
I sure do. I have some people I've invited to talk to us. Emma Crump is here. She's a Berea community student, and I nabbed her after they recognized her at the Berea school board meeting, and we'll get into a little bit of that. And her dad is also here, Mike Spencer, in our studio. So
well, thank you both for being here.
Yeah, appreciate you guys coming.
Yeah, thanks.
We had to switch locations and times on him a couple times, so thank you for being flexible.
No problem.
But they're here. We're all here, so we're good.
All technical,
and we have sound, so we're happy. So yeah, Emma, you this summer went to the Governor's School for the Arts, and I believe it was specifically viola. Is that correct? Do they have you actually go for a specific instrument, or is it something more general?
Yes, you go for specific instruments. I went for viola.
Okay, so how does that happen? How do you get into the Governor's School of the Arts?
There is an online application that you have to have completed before January 1st. After that, you have to send in 2 recommendation letters from a school administrator and from a teacher, preferably a teacher from your discipline. So I had my private teacher send in one. And then they schedule you for an audition at 4 different campuses, and mine was at Transylvania. And so I just went in and auditioned.
Okay. So how long have you been playing the viola?
Since about 6th grade, so about 6 years now.
Okay. And you had also, I think, the Governor's Scholar Program, you had Because I know they were saying at the school that in their memory, it's the first time a student has actually been able to go to both, and you had to make the choice. So that was also an application. I suppose you just wanted to see.
Yes.
You couldn't get into one, get into the other kind of thing, right?
Yeah, that was a very, very long application for that.
A lot longer than the music one, huh?
Yes.
So was that a hard decision?
It was a very, very hard decision, yes. I actually, to help me decide, went up for a day. I spent the day at EKU in their music department because that's one of the colleges that my private teacher teaches at. And I just spent the day with all the music majors to see if music might be something that I want to do for the rest of my life and in college. And if that was so, then that's kind of one of the reasons I went to GSA.
Okay. Now, what year are you? Are you a senior?
Yes.
Okay.
This is my senior year.
So good time to start thinking about,
Yeah.
oh, what am I going to do with my life? So how did you enjoy that? How many weeks was that? And how did you enjoy the governor's arts?
Governor's School for the Arts was 3 weeks. And I spent it at Transylvania University with about 230 other kids. And I loved it. There were 39 instrumental music. And we pretty much did small chamber music ensembles for 3 weeks. Lots of private work. We had a lot of guest artists come in, work with us. And it was, I really enjoyed it.
Was there probably a variety of music? Like they would, not music, instruments, as far as they try not to get too many of each type, so that when you guys would play together, there would be, like, you wouldn't be heavy on violas and, like, not have any pianists or something like that.
Yes, it's semi-structured that way, but not always. I think they usually try to do, for the strings group, about 2 quartets. So we had 4 violins, 2 violas, and 2 cellos. But some years, like this year, we did not have an oboe, so they did not feel like there were oboe players in Kentucky that were qualified enough for GSA. So it just depends on the year.
Right, and who you have in or who you have applying. Right, they're not going to have someone who's less talented at the oboe and not take someone who's more talented at the violin. Okay. So viola, I have to admit, I've always been kind of curious. Like when I do piano, it's just piano. We didn't have different types of pianos to choose from. So when you're talking about violin, viola, that type of thing, how did that happen that you fell into that particular instrument?
Well, in the elementary school at Berea Community, they have a once-a-week strings program, and it's changed up a little bit this year because the music teacher, Mrs. Stratman, just retired. But Jenny Kiddick would come in every week and work with the kids. So I started on the violin back in, like, first grade.
Okay.
And there was just a viola sitting around in the music room that no one was playing. So halfway through 6th grade, I decided, hey, why not? So, yeah.
So tell me the difference and why viola was more appealing.
Viola was just appealing because it was different and nobody else was doing it. And the difference in between a violin and a viola is that a viola is generally bigger and it has a deeper sound to it. It has the same strings as a cello, only it's an octave higher.
Okay. It just kind of caught me when we had Brittany Breakall in here when Jonathan asked her the difference between a fiddle and a violin, and she said one is strings and the other one has strings. So I always remembered that answer. Okay. And as far as your plans for next year, is that still in flux, or do you have some ideas where you might want to go? Actually, let me ask you this first. There's some scholarship opportunities coming from participating in Governor's School for the Arts, right?
Yes, and that was one.
And your dad's looking quite happy about that one. Yes, money to help.
Yeah, and that was one of the things I had to consider when I was choosing in between GSA and GSP, was the scholarships, because they both offer scholarships. They ended up pretty much being about the same. So basically, at most state schools, I can get up to full tuition based on my ACT and GPA for GSA.
Excellent. So you mean between all of that, you can probably get a full scholarship?
Yes.
Okay, great. And that would be, do you have any preferences, or are you just going to try to check everything out this next year?
Yeah, I think probably. I don't have any definite plans for college. But
Okay.
still looking.
I think she has an idea, though, and she doesn't want to tell us yet. Well, Dad, you must be pretty proud here.
Oh, absolutely. We're very proud of her. She's worked really hard, and when she switched over from the violin to viola, we were a little hesitant, and then she's done all of the work on her own. They don't have an orchestra at Berea. She has a private teacher, and she plays in the CKYO in Lexington one night a week. And
Tell us what the CKYO is for people who don't know.
Youth Orchestra.
Okay.
It's in Lexington. So she's done with the private teacher and that one night a week, and she's done the rest of the work all on her own. And so we're very proud of her. She's worked very hard, and she deserves the recognition that she's received. So.
And certainly talent is going to get you so far, but the rest of the way has to be the dedication, the commitment, the hard work, the practice. Exactly. Chad, did you have anything you wanted to
No, I'm
pitch in here?
just enjoying learning about this very interesting young lady. It's amazing who you meet in this town when you...
Yeah, the youth in Berea make me, I don't like to think too much about what I accomplished in high school, because it really doesn't quite rise to the level of a lot of, we just have so many talented in Berea. So many talented youth.
Well, if you want some encouragement, my wife and I both were music majors, and we've done okay. So.
Hey.
And as you can see, you can be doing a radio station, you can be working for Ozfest, you can do all kinds of other things besides music. So, and it sounds like music is what your plans are.
Yeah,
as far
probably
as
music education so far as a major.
Okay, great. I think she might be going to play a little something for us, Chad. Should we
Well,
go ahead and take a break?
And get things set up for it.
Okay, sounds good.
You're listening to All About Berea. We'll be right back after this break with a little bit of music.
Welcome back to All About Berea. We are here with Emma Crump, a viola player from Berea Community who went to the Governor's School for the Arts, and she is going to play a little something for us as a treat. So, Emma, if you're ready, go ahead. Oh, can you tell us what you'll be doing?
I'm just going to play a little bit of an excerpt from Telemann Viola Concerto in G major.
Excellent. To your audience of 3. Oh, that was marvelous. Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely have you back and tell us more about what's going on later.
Yeah, maybe as you make your decisions. Yeah, but I appreciate it. And thanks, Dad, for bringing her along.
Thank you for having us. Thank you very much.
All right.
You've been listening to All About Berea. We're going to take another quick break while we get things situated here in the studio, and we'll be coming back with this week's calendar of events. Hello and welcome back. We hope you enjoyed that music. That was really nice of her to play for us.
Yeah, it was. I was really glad to have him.
We have so many talented youth in this community, and I would love to showcase all of them, actually.
Well, and I should invite people, if you know people you'd like to see on here, musicians who are, or other people who are otherwise notable in the community, please contact Chad or I about that, and we'll put them on as guests.
Also, we are interested in finding out if you like the radio format, if this is working for you. I mean, we see the downloads and who's watching, but we want to know if anyone out there would be interested in us taking the step into video, because we've dabbled with the idea. And it's a lot more work, but we want to know if the audience likes it. And the one reason I'm going to throw it out like that is because with Tech Talk, we took it to video and found out that some of our audience didn't like it because they listened to the car in the show. They listened to the show.
They listened to the car in their show.
Yes. You caught that, yes.
They were doing a little dance, listening to the car. It was getting all very complicated.
Video did not work out so well for that. And so I'm curious. Would you like?
But I am a lot prettier than Chad, so you know what? Video may be the place to go.
We're perfectly capable of doing both. It's just a lot more editing on the video. Well, yeah, just takes longer.
And I can't really speak to that because Chad would be the one who would be responsible
for my sake, would you be interested before I go down that road?
Make sure you really, really want to, if you say you do.
Make me pull out my green screen again. We'll do our shows in Hawaii. No. All About Berea, coming to you from Waikiki. No. All right. Well, it's time for this week's calendar, which is very dry.
It is. I was just going to have the one thing of the Battle of Richmond enactment is this weekend, and tomorrow's Sunday. That's going to be going from 10 to 4. The actual battle will be at 2 p.m. And there's also going to be the traditional Civil War service taking place on Sunday morning. That would be from 11 to 12 at Mount Zion Church, which is nearby, I believe, the depot. So for those of you who want to participate in that annual event, other things are kind of slowly starting to kick in. So I expect to have a lot more next week. Well,
I got my EKU Center book in. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit. You know, here we are in Berea, and this is located in Richmond, but we paid for this thing. You know, this is owned by all of us. The county put money into this, and we all belong to Madison County. So it's interesting that we take a little ownership and interest into
not
this.
That they advertise in the local Berea newspaper.
Yeah, I know. We'll have to work on that. But anyway, there are some things coming up there that are well worth mentioning. One is the group Chicago. That happens to be one of my favorite bands.
I grew up on Chicago. Absolutely.
Their harmonies are incredible. And the fact that they still have all the instruments, the horns in the band, and they're just very...
Oh, I remember vinyl records of Chicago when I was a kid.
They're musical. They're talented. They ooze it. And they're going to be up there on September the 18th. So I think that's...
oh, yeah. Let's mention that. I guess they don't have prices written down there, do they?
Actually,
that's one that always kicks me out.
Oh, the prices for individual shows are not listed, but I did get the season prices. And... actually, they do have the prices for individual shows.
Do they have a standard price then?
No, they actually have it broken down. So I'm just going to point you to their website. But just to give you an idea on the Chicago, $116 for premium seats, $87 for orchestra, all the way down to $57 for the grand tier.
Okay.
So, well, $60.
Not terrible.
No, that's not horrible for a concert, especially a band like that. And what blew me away, though, I did look at the season prices, and it's like, $1,200 a person to get the whole season, which is actually a good deal, but it's a big pill to swallow, you know?
Yeah, and for some of us, it's just a pill that ain't going to happen.
That's right. Well, that's per person.
Unless we put it on our credit card.
Yeah. So lots of other things coming up there. Did want to point out Dwight Yoakam and Weird Al are both going to be there as well. There's other musical groups. That's later on, and we'll talk about that in October. There's some things for kids going up there, like Dinosaur Train Live. I don't know if you've ever watched
remember
the cartoon.
That. Yes, on KT.
Yes.
They would play it. Mm-hmm. It was a new one that actually happened, I think, a couple years ago. They came out with that
The
one.
Bee Gees are going to be there. Then Rockapella, which is a really neat group. And then one thing that I found interesting was that they're going to have Handel's Messiah and the Nutcracker along with A Christmas Carol. So there are a lot of Christmas-oriented events that'll be going on. But one thing I had noticed that was the Nutcracker is going to be on December 7th and 8th. And then Handel's Messiah is also on the 8th. So I called a friend of mine who does tech for the center, and I said, what's
what's
going to happen? And he said that it's going to be a very bad day for him because he says you have to.
So one place first,
over,
and then they're going to have to switch
the entire
whole
stage over for the other. Yeah.
Ay.
So
Okay.
I feel sorry for all the student
For all those
laborers out there that
backstage
day.
people, absolutely.
Because they're going to have a hard time. Then there's a lot more.
And the
We'll
people
talk
are
about
going
that
to
later
lose their
on.
jobs. They don't do it right.
So we'll keep this this book handy so we can add it to our calendar. It's just nice that we have that quality just 12 miles up the road now.
That is true. It's something we would have had to have traveled much further to Danville.
Yeah, I didn't
Lexington.
list a thing on there that you wouldn't have had to go to Lexington or at least Danville for before the center was constructed.
Right. Well, we went last year to Blue Man's Group, which was my third time for seeing them. The last couple times I'd seen them was in New York. And what was amazing is we went in and we went with our kids, but they had 5-year-olds up to 85-year-olds, and that was great. And that you could never have seen Blue Man Group in Madison County before that game. So
yeah, we saw them at Rupp Arena, so I saw the little bitty Blue Man Group. We were way back.
The midget Blue Man
That's right.
Group. Yeah, the Performing Arts Center was a little more. You weren't quite so far flung. Though I have to admit, there's a reason to be down in the bottom because that's where all the fun stuff happens when they're throwing out streamers and big balls and all that stuff.
Anyway, I'm just thrilled that we have it, and please, if you're interested in that kind of thing, support them because we want to have good entertainment and good quality options here in our home county.
Well, and I know there's they're going to have to find out, but I know the Rose Barn Theater was actually using their black box for their shows last year, so I'm hoping that'll still work out for this next year as well.
Okay. Well, we are just about finished with this week's show. Thank you for listening. Of course, All About Berea is sponsored by BreaOnline.com and the Berea Citizen. You can find us on the web, BreaOnline.com, and you'll see All About Berea at the very top. Just click on the link. It'll take you to this show and to all of our archive shows.
That's right.
All right. Thanks again for joining us. We'll be back next week with more Berea
All About
news.
Berea is brought to you by Good Impressions Design. For screen printing, trophies, plaques, signs and more, check out Good Impressions' full line of services, and make a good impression with your business today. On the web at goodimpressionsdesign.com. By the Berea Citizen. Serving the community since 1899, this Berea icon continues to produce award-winning news stories and features. Pick up your copy today, or sign up for a weekly subscription by calling 859-986-0959. By BreaOnline.com. Constantly updated, this site is the most up-to-date place to find what's going on in Berea. Loaded with videos, shows, stories, articles and a full calendar of events, this site has been the place to go on the web for Bereans since 1995. The name says it all, it's Berea Online. The opinions expressed on All About Berea are not those of BreaOnline.com, the Berea Citizen, nor any other sponsor. All About Berea is a production of Tech Talk Studios and recorded weekly in Berea, Kentucky, in partnership with the Creative Tech Media Group and BreaOnline.com. All About Berea is co-produced by Rhonda McIntyre, co-produced and directed by Chad Hembry, and finally, our senior news editor is Beth Myers. If you would like to participate in All About Berea, or simply have a suggestion, we would love to hear from you. Just go to BreaOnline.com and click on All About Berea at the top of the page. For sponsorship opportunities, contact the Creative Tech Media Group at creativetechmedia.com or phone 859-626-6054. From all of us here at Tech Talk Studios And on behalf of the cast and crew of All About Berea, thanks for listening.